розпочнемо нашу наступну дискусію на тему можливості і виклики. І ми раді вітати.
We are happy to welcome here Oleksandr Roitbud, the famous artist Oleksandra Koval, president of Publishers Forum, Kateryna Botanova, director of the Center of Contemporary Art Foundation, Ivanov, producer of Arthouse, Traffic, Iryna Podolyak, MP. Unfortunately, Kateryna Botanova got sick. I will start. I would like to say that the coalition agreement had several items before the new cabinet of ministers was formed, and there were items which are quite progressive, and there were some which are quite regressive. There's an impression that what has happened when the cabinet of ministers was appointed, it's more like nomenclature appointments, and immediately the professional community reacted to that. On the one hand, there was an understanding that the culture should not execute the function of the propaganda and decoration. That's quite a serious factor of development of our society. That's the factor thanks to which we can find understanding between different regions, between different groups of people. And the events taking place in Ukraine showed that the culture should not be servicing the authorities, but should develop the society. The team which has come to the Ministry of Culture after the revolution has done a lot, and many very important reforms were started, which cannot take place urgently. But nevertheless, there were some correct steps made, and these correct steps are now at a threat. First of all, that's opening the transparent accountancy of the Ministry of Culture. By the end of the year, this accountancy was to be made public. Then protection of the monuments and historic areas of the cities. Several commissions were formed which were independent of the ministry. The commissions of the independent experts, they started to work. And we've seen some progress. Also, Ukraine has made several steps towards the platform Creative Europe. That's one of very important instruments of development of culture in Europe. And participation in that program, which we managed to join for symbolic €1, allows us to finance many projects in Ukraine, especially when the budget is so little and when even the tickets are so expensive to go to Europe. That would have been quite natural progress of integration. And another important, super important initiative that was started is the platform Strategy of Culture 2025. That's the instrument which I admire. I participated in it as a recipient, but what the colleagues were doing was wonderful. Before some decisions, individual decisions were made, the system was designed, the brainstorming was made in different regions, and I believe that Oleksandra will talk about that in more details, but we decided to get united and make a statement to Vice Prime Minister Vyacheslav Kirilenko. The times have changed. We need to listen to each other because otherwise the humanitarian disaster is ahead of us. And I believe it would be great. Mr. Franco used to say that you have to reevaluate a person, then it will be good. And we want to reevaluate. We believe that we will be heard. And I would like to give the floor to Oleksandra Koval, who will talk more about the strategy 2025. Which is one of the most important initiatives in the culture. Good afternoon. I had the honor to join the development of the platform and development of the strategy half a year ago. We are the initiative group 6, 7, 8 persons, and we started the process. We were trying to do it like it was done in other countries of Eastern Europe and post-Soviet countries. International advisors were involved into the process, and Radnar Sil is still the advisor to the government of Estonia. Himself and his team participated in the development and implementation of the cultural strategy of the development of Estonia. From this very first period, from the very beginning of this initiative, we found good understanding in the Ministry of Culture, and the Minister of Culture, Nishuk, assured us that this initiative will be supported organizationally, and he guaranteed that the strategy which is to be developed during this year and next year, that this strategy will be implemented. What are our actions and developments about? We selected 6 basic cities to learn about the major problems of the regions, the major problems in different cultural institutions, and we visited Lviv, Vinnytsia, Dnipropetrovsk, Zaporizhzhia, Kharkiv, and Odessa. What did we find out? We found out that people do not believe. People were quite concerned, and they did not believe in what we were planning. All discussions would start from saying, we were deceived for 20 years. The authorities do not need culture. But in the process of discussion, when they saw that there is an interest, there are opportunities to change something, they would open up. And it was obvious that the problems in culture are in the lack of communication. The lack of communication between different levels of authorities, between different branches of power, communication between themselves, communication with the society. And then we realized how important is the first step that we've made. We created the communication platform. In all these cities, after we went, after we left these cities, the discussion continues. People of culture get united, and they work on some programs, some processes as to how to take the culture out of the crisis, take it out at the local level. They got united, and they now understand their capacity, their opportunities, but the people would feel betrayed if from the Ministry of Culture there are no positive signals given that their ideas are heard, that what they suggest is taken into account. And what we are concerned about most, whether these people will be heard, will there be a dialogue between the different regions and the Ministry of Culture? Will cultural environments be heard? Because each one of them has its own understanding, proposal as to the strategy of development of this or that sector of culture. And what we demand from the Minister of Culture, first of all, it is that he should leave the deputies on their positions who have progressed in this process and who have started reforms. And we do not know if these reforms will continue if these people leave. We demand the continuation of a dialogue, and we demand that this communication culture communication platform Culture 2025 continues. The dialogue should continue. And the single cultural strategy of Ukraine is to be developed till 2025. And what Denis said, open accountancy, open reporting is what creates trust. And the trust is what we lack. All of us lack. It would be much easier if we were able to say now, yes, we do trust the new minister. He will lead us in the right direction. But unfortunately, we cannot say now that. Thank you.
Good morning. I have some. I will tell you this. I have not developed a 2020 strategy. I have not created the grounds for dialogue and communication platforms. I am painting my studio when I have time. And I'm someone who is related to the Ministry of Culture. In 1993, they bought me a ticket to Edinburgh, and back. And since that time, I am happy to speak about cooperation with warmth on my heart, in my heart. I would like to express my skepticism whether Mr. Kirilenko will keep his deputies or not. I think that it will not change a lot. I had one friend. My friend visited me yesterday, and I opened Facebook today. There is such a social network. Very interesting. It tells you about everything. And he writes a post that Minister, Vice Prime Minister of Culture, here's the number of his tasks or responsibilities. And he was not concrete. He wrote to his studies and then heads twice, prepares 3 times, and directs 3 texts 3 times, decides 5 times, coordinates 5 times, agrees 6, and appoints 7 times, leads 7 times, controls 7 times, develops 9 times, provides 10 times, and approves 13 times, and implements 14 times. If to put together all these times and to multiply by 5 minutes, there will be a day will not be enough for the Vice Prime Minister. I think that a principal decision about holding a position of Vice Prime Minister and Minister of Culture is a big mistake, and it's a consequence of a neglectful tradition to culture. The same neglection was appointment of Nishchuk. They had to throw a bone to Maidan. So here's the Minister of Culture that nobody needs. But it happened that Evgeny Nishchuk, he's a nice person, first of all, and adequate too. He understood the limits of his competence, and he understood that the best he can do is to hire a good team. And with the help of the team, he could start just thinking about the processes in the culture. He did it. I am not 100 supporter. There are people who criticize what was done, and maybe they are right, partially. But during all the years of our countries, there were some good ministers. Juba, very nice guy, Stupka, but during all these years, nobody made an effort of systemic reform. This team in half a year it began. Slow, yes, slow. Not enough, yes, not enough. Too bureaucratic, yes, too bureaucratic. But the first step was taken. Now they stop it. Again, once again, I express my doubt that Mr. Kirilenko has time to work with culture, on culture between culture between healthcare, education, assistance to IDPs, sport, tourism, pensioners, budget, what else? Education. I'm sure that the Ministry of Cultures culture will be without a leader, but the budget of a laundry will be used, but without any purpose, without any talent, and a special fears. I hope I'm wrong, because I'm wrong. I was wrong about Nishuk. I'm happy that he was a good minister. I will be happy if I'm wrong now, but I looked at the bio of Mr. Kirilenko. I have some doubts that he is competent on the position of on this position. He graduated from Kherson Maritime College, and then since 25 years old, he's in politics, and he started in youth movement, and then he graduated from philosophy department. The theme of dissertation in philosophy of Ukrainian or sort of national radicalism or radical nationalism, but believe me, it's not philosophy, which is a key word. And his wife is working in the Institute of Poplavsky. That's the closest relation link to culture. He was not noticed at expositions, plays, festivals, or maybe I was not there. This is the person who in his daily activity is not penetrated in culture process, and to sit on two seats, he will not pay attention to that, and the culture is again is a captive of coalition agreements. There's an idea to keep in the Ministry of Culture the function of protection of heritage, and to take out like national agency on culture modernization. With some in coalition agreement, there is they wanted to find new finances, and there are lots of examples from national lottery up to like in Estonia. The Center of Modern Art exists 1% of tobacco excise. Add alcohol, a big country, we can do something. But at least to observe quiet death of culture is not just pleasant, but it's also unpleasant. What we saved on theater and cinema, we paid much more to army, to Donbass, than we'll have to restore what was ruined. A culture is not part of culture of entertainment, but this is one of the key points of national security, because self-identification of a nation is built on that. Thank you. Good morning, Iryna Podolyak. I am a newly elected MP in the Parliament of Ukraine, and I'm a first deputy of the head of the Committee on Culture and Spirituality. I can agree with what colleagues have told, but I have to say that in those two months and a half that I'm in Kiev, I have not visited any play or any exhibition, which is unnatural for me, and I hope that we'll fix it. I share expectations. I feel that this fear as to the changes in culture. The biggest problem we have in the management of culture is that there is it's great. Maybe it's good that they did not reform culture monthly like other spheres of life, because it means that we have a chance, or had a chance, we will have a chance to start systemic changes and systemic reforms. On the other hand, this process should be this duration should be supported by something. We understand some people from culture, Ministry of Culture, and they believe that there should be the strategy of culture policy of Ukraine, which should be approved by legislation. So it should be a law, and then we hope that this is our society develops. And this process will be supported. This continuance will be supported. And there is a lot of speculation around war issue. We had in the previous, if they told our economy and our critical situation, we will build economy, then we'll work on your culture. Then rhetoric is different. Now there is war before economy. And they say, politicians, my colleagues, what kind of culture are you talking about? It's important to survive until 2015. These are the conversations. So war is on the first, then development, first of all economy, and war, economy, and then culture. What does it say? I don't want to speak about the society. I want to speak about politicians, about us, and it speaks about intellectual unmaturity of those people to whom we delegate our powers, and that is sad. That's why I guarantee that not only a project or platform Culture 225 will continue to be a platform for discussions and dialogue and for communication, not only horizontal but also vertical. I can promise that the Committee on Culture and Spirituality, I am honored to work. I hope that during the next Parliament, the Parliament, I believe, will be better. There will be a line from deputies who will want to work in the Committee on Culture, because it will be fashionable to work there.
Взагалі про що мова йде?
And people will understand what it is about. We had the first meeting of the committee, and formal, I have to say. We invited representatives from creative groups. We wanted to have a dialogue, we wanted to share opinions, and we saw that we need to change that format and we need to expand it, that ground for communication, because the Ministry of Culture should understand that when you walk around between the Parliament, Cabinet of Ministers, the Ministry, this like in a movie of in the novel of Stephen King. You don't understand what's happening outside of that dome. And during this, there is a quite powerful, competitive, and competent environment in cultural environment, and which is not happy with the inferiority complex, and which is ready, which knows what culture is. As to manipulations, as to war, it's the sign of high intellect, or what is that is more. It's fashionable to quote people. I love to produce contents or interpretations. I would like to turn to Churchill. The issue: what are we fighting for? If to continue to save and to move to the margin. Issues related to basic needs of people, like culture, is one of the basic needs which should be satisfied. I don't know then what we are fighting for.
That is why I do not demand nothing. I do not demand anything from the new minister. I do not demand anything from the ministry. We request and we suggest in the nearest future to find the possibility and meet with this new creative class environment which has been born in Ukraine. And we hope we will all be heard. Unfortunately, I had no chance to longer talk about perspectives of reforming the culture in 2015, 2016, 2017 with the Minister of Culture was concerned because of these three items which are in the program of the Ministry of Culture, because they are so socialistically realistic. But we hope that the new minister will interpret for us the meaning of these items. I'm concerned with the fact that there's the strategy of development of humanitarian sector, but the coalition agreement has the strategy of development of culture. And the sector of humanitarian policy is much wider than the sector of culture, and that may mean one thing, that culture is put aside, but we'll be talking about social policy, medicine, public health. We are not interested in that. And I hope that we will have such a meeting, and I hope that politicians, and I request your support in that, I hope that politicians will understand what we are fighting for. Thank you, and we have time for one question. Ukrainian Crisis Media Center. My question is to Iryna. Could you please say, we all know that there will be cuts in the budget in all the sectors. How can you cut the budget of the Ministry of Culture so that we survive? And the second question is, do you believe this could be cut down if the status of national collectives is cancelled? Because some of the community is very sensitive to that. And also, Churchill was saying, why do we need London if there's no culture, if there are no theaters there? So I wish you success. As to the budgets, all the parliament, not just our committee on culture, we are discussing the principles of the budget, but you also need to understand, and I declare that we discuss air. Because unfortunately, our committee, for example, had no even general figures. We had no basis. We do not know what is the basis for the culture. We hope that maybe in the nearest future, I talked about that with the Minister Kirilenko yesterday, and I declared that we are ready, together with the ministry, to help work on the budget. The budget, as I see it, will be very, very difficult, complicated. I wish we could at least manage to get money for wages and for communal services, for the basic institutions of the Ministry of Culture. And it is important to deprive the Ministry of Culture of some functions like political servicing for the authorities, all these concerts, that's not made by the administration of the president. That's done by the by the Minister of Culture. They are servicing the authorities. This is not the task of the Ministry of Culture. And I do not know all the figures. That is certain part of the budget. This means several millions. Of course, we need to reduce budgets, and we need to remember, if the state can maintain only a certain network of the cultural establishments, then the task of the Ministry of Culture and of the Parliament is to ensure the situation so that we give the chance to develop, for development to private cultural initiatives and private establishments, providing them privileges or providing them incentives. If an institution is operating in the sphere of culture, it should have certain privileges, tax privileges, and that's related to introducing amendments to tax legislation, introducing amendments to the budget of Ukraine. We'll be working on that. As far as I understand, I heard from TV the statement from the Minister of Culture that told the national establishments will be under the Ministry of Culture. And the fact that financing of these institutions is to be reviewed, because we know very well that, for example, in some national theater or whatever, let's take a national theater, there may be some person working who's very respected with all the titles, and this person will get salary and pension, and these are big amounts of money. And some young, and it's difficult to dismiss this person. And there might be a young actor who's hired on a contractual basis for 5,000 hryvnias a month, and the representatives of new generation, they are not paid well. So this is to be addressed comprehensively. For that, we should be operating in one paradigm. We need to operate similar definitions and notions, and the changes are to be systemic, and ensuring such inheritance, transparency in the activities of the Ministry of Culture. If we start reforms so late, we need to understand that these reforms should be qualitatively different than the reforms which we started in 1991. Thank you. Thank you for your briefing, and we hope to see you here with the assessment.